So trees for pollinators, how about that?
Trees for pollinators.
Huh.
And let's just define pollinators
Okay, let's
first.
do that. Let's do that.
Pollinators are bees, a lot of native bees. There's like 4,000 native bees in the United States.
That's a lot.
Then it's also butterflies and moths
Okay.
and birds.
So birds are considered pollinators?
Yes, because you know, when you think about it, like the Baltimore Orioles, when they come through, they go to native tulip poplar trees.
Okay.
And they'll eat on the tulips, the flowers for that, and feed on that. So birds also help pollinate. And think about hummingbirds. Hummingbirds help pollinate. So yes, birds, bees, moths, and butterflies are all pollinators, considered collectively as pollinators.
That's good.
And even some animals help pollinate.
Who knew?
By going around. So yeah.
That's a lot. Okay.
So there's a lot of pollinators.
A lot of pollinators out there. All right.
And why native trees?
Okay.
You know, why do we think about native trees? Well, think about it. Trees live for a very long time.
Yes.
Of all the plant species, they're one of the largest.
Okay.
And they live for a long time.
Right.
So the odds of a moth or an insect or any kind of caterpillar to be attracted to that to eat is high because it's there for a long time, and it's large. So you can't miss a tree.
Right. Right.
So yeah, that is one of the reasons why over time they have evolved together.
Okay.
To help each other.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Okay. And trees have different types of tannins because the trees don't want to be eaten by the bugs and the caterpillars. But over generations, the bugs have overcome that.
Okay.
So they can digest a lot of the leaves of trees.
Okay.
And also, trees help the biodiversity of every region. The native trees do. Because think about the cycle of the life.
Okay.
The trees are there, the smallest of insects and moths and caterpillars eat on them, and then they're fed on by other larger animals who then feed on so it helps the whole biodiversity of the entire area.
Got it.
And trees that support the most types of insects will support more animal life in a region. Mm-hmm. So you want to do that. And of course, that's why the list that we're going to be talking about is based on how many insects and caterpillars, especially from butterflies and moths, actually are attracted to these particular trees. Okay. And we'll talk about that as we go along. Okay, sure. Another thing you need to do is, there is a campaign called Leave the Leaves. And then you think about a forest situation, the leaves fall, but nobody rakes them up.
That's right.
So, and I know in an urban setting you can't always do that. And you definitely don't need it on lawns because that will kill your lawns.
Right.
But maybe use it as mulch, blow it into the beds. And have some leaf litter around, because that will increase even more insects and that food chain starters in the area to feed then the rest of
that makes sense.
The food chain.
All right. Leave the leaves.
Leave the leaves, yeah.
I like it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we talked about trees that attract the most caterpillars. Okay. The number one tree species are the oaks.
I knew it, yeah, okay.
The Quercus species, because they attract more caterpillars and they have the largest geographic region of any other tree species. And think about it, Asia, Europe, North America, Central America, and parts of South America.
Oh, that's a wild range.
Continents. Those are a lot of continents that oak trees are found in. So they are the number one species for attracting caterpillars or pollinators. And of course, oak trees also live for a very long time, a lot longer than a lot of the other trees. If you have only room for one tree, try to find an oak tree that will fit that situation, and it will be one of the best native trees that you can plant. in your area.
And it'll be around forever.
And it'll be around for a very long time.
Yeah.
Now, there are other North American native trees that attract pollinators, and we're going to start on them.
Okay.
And we're going to start with the most geographical region found in the United States and in other parts of the world. Acer species, the maples, found all over. Good fall color, also attract a lot of bees and butterflies. The prunus species, the cherries. And specifically here in the United States, the Prunus serotina, the black cherry, and the Prunus virginiana, the choke cherry. Those two are the best of the two Prunus families in cherries to attract pollinators. Then there's the willow family, the salix species. These are found in lowland areas and withstand wet soils. So if you have a wet soil area, you need something to plant there for a tree, try a willow.
Willow, got it.
Yeah, betula also, betula, the birch family, found a large part of the United States. And they are also withstand wet soils. They have beautiful bark for the winter, even when they don't have leaves on them. Then there are the hickories, the caria species, hickories and pecans. They attract, of course, the pecan farmers and the hickory farmers probably say, yeah, we have to spray a lot because, you know, things are very attractive to us. So, but you know what? Hickories are a host for a Luna moth.
Yeah.
And I always wondered why I had Luna moths around my house. And I have hickory trees. So that's probably why I have
Those are pretty good sized moths, too.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah, they are.
They're beautiful. Next, pinus species, the pines. And of course, that's evergreen. But they attract 191 different types of insects. And they're evergreen. Juniperous species, also the cedars, also evergreen and good protection for pollinators. Like the butterflies and the caterpillars will hang their cocoons on them for the winter. So that's a good place for that. Nyssa species, the tupelo. It's good for fall color. If you're driving along, you know, it's a tall tree, so you see it red and along the interstate. It's real pretty. Also, it's prized for its honey from bees. In fact, there are some beekeepers that will actually know when the tupelo trees are blooming, and then they will take up the honey after they finish blooming. So their honey they're getting from the tupelo trees is pure tupelo honey.
How about that?
And it's very expensive, and it's very prized. So interesting.
That is
interesting. And it says a lot of people say it's the best tasting honey around, but I've never had any, so I don't know if I can. If I can attest to that, but anyway.
You try that and see.
Yeah, I may have to try that one. Another one that's found a large part of the United States is the populus species, the cottonwoods and the aspens family. They have softwood, and they are messy trees. You really need some land to have them on, but woodpeckers like them because of soft wood. And they do attract a lot of bugs. Alnus species, the alder tree. Very interesting plant, found a large part of the country, and in Central America too, and South America. The wood hardens in water when it is wet. The wood hardens. In fact, Venice is actually built on alder wood. And the Incas used to use it to fertilize soil. Because it's using alder's symbiotic relationship with a bacteria called Frankia alnae, which is found in the root nodules of the alder tree.
How about that?
And what it does, the sugars that are produced from that by photosynthesis make nitrogen, which also feed the tree, and changes and makes the soil around it fertile.
How about that?
So alders are a very ancient tree, and it's used a lot. So it is native.
Did not know that.
Yeah, a lot of bugs eat alders. Magnolia species. And you know, the magnolias, some are deciduous, some are evergreen, some are small, some are tall. I mean, you can find one to fit in your yard somewhere. And they bloom in the spring, and they bloom in the summer, so it just depends on what kind you have. So it's very attractive for pollinators. mollusk species, the crab apples.
Okay.
They feed and have nice blooms in the spring, and they feed a lot of bugs. Of course, a lot of people say that because I can't grow my crab apples because of all the bugs on them. Yes,
I've heard that.
Of course. Another one that's native, if you have a smaller yard, Carpinus caroliniana, the ironwood, and it can withstand wet soils because in nature it's found on riverbanks. Amelanchier species, the serviceberry. It supports 114 caterpillar species.
Wow, 14.
Yeah. It has blooms in spring and the berries in the fall, which are edible. Cornus species, the dogwood. They support, they support 126 different caterpillar species. So everybody knows they have problems with their dogwoods.
Dogwood, right.
And then there's the Cercis canadensis, the eastern redbud, flowers in the springs. The flowers are edible by humans, also supports a large caterpillar species.
Okay, know that one.
And of course, the red buckeye, Aesculus pavia. It blooms in the spring, and when you see it blooming, and you should put out your hummingbird feeders because the hummingbirds migrate through the United States when the red buckeyes are blooming.
Got it. Cool. Okay.
And that's the top. Those are the top native trees that attract pollinators. But now, non-native trees also attract pollinators, especially if they bloom or have some kind of attraction for these pollinators. And, they eat on the leaves of them too.
Sure.
So, so it's not just, I'm not saying just use native. You can use you have at least some native trees with your other non-native trees. And then you'll have the best of both worlds of ornament and native plants to feed the pollinators. Because you got to remember, plants are the only organism that can capture energy from the sun and convert it into food that sustains the rest of life on Earth.
We like that.
We like that a lot.
Yeah, sustains the rest of life.
So plant a tree.
Plant a tree. And leave the leaves so like
And
they
leave the
campaign.
leaves.
Joel, that was good. Yeah. Real good information. A lot of those things I didn't know, but I learned them. That's pretty good. Thank you much. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. To find out more information on this topic, just click on the familyplotgarden.com link in the description.